3, 2, 1.
Hi, this is Victoria Wolders, and welcome to another Empathy Tale. This is mykidslocker.com, and I just wanted to welcome you back. This episode is episode 10, and the story is called The Woman, the Webs, and the Witch. If you are interested in connecting with me, you can reach me at mykidslocker.com. You can also reach me on through social media, Twitter, LinkedIn, YouTube, Pinterest, Facebook. I'd love to hear your input. Love to hear your thoughts on maybe news stories, or maybe you have a suggestion. Love to hear it, because I would love to write a new story, maybe with one of your ideas, possibly. So, feel free to reach out to me. Love to hear from you. So this story was told, I guess, to my son and daughter on November 12th, 2018. Same date as the last episode. So I think I did 2 that night. So this quote, I think very much sums up what this story is about. If we really want to love, we must learn how to forgive. And that's from Mother Teresa. Today, you will learn about losing something. Have you ever had something taken away from you? It could have been as simple as that piece of cake you really wanted, or as complex as that friendship you really wanted to continue, but your friend wasn't interested in spending time with you. We have things, people, and feelings taken from us on a regular basis. How do you handle that loss of pain? Do you ignore it? Do you cry? Do you get mad? Perhaps you can start feeling shameful, and you start thinking that the bad thing that happened to you is because you're a bad person. There are many different things you can do and act out when you are in situations when someone or something has taken something important from you. In my life, I recently had something taken away from me. I always thought I would have good health. And in the last 10 years, since my car accident, I've struggled with my health. The things I once enjoyed, like very long runs, I can't do anymore. Whether it is a piece of cake or a piece of your life expectations, we all have things taken from us. I just wonder how these lost things build us to be better people and help us to connect with others. In this story called The Woman, the Webs, and the Witch, there is one character that has a gift taken away from her. Yet, she uses this loss for good. She connects with another human being. Recently, I was crying because I had lost something, and a friend put her hand on my back and said, "Breathe." And just that kindness helped me get through the day. I wanted to dedicate this story to Lisa for helping me that day. I appreciated her hand of kindness. So when I read this story, take some time to think about when you lost something last. And did it end up for you depending or asking for help? Did it build a connection with another human being? Are you comfortable? Are you ready? Then I'll begin. Once upon a time, a long time ago, there was a woman named Woven, and the woman lived just outside of a village in the Oak and Eagle Kingdom. She lived in a cottage, and she lived with her daughter named Glisten. Her husband has passed away many years ago, and it was just her and her daughter. Woven had some very magical powers. She was able to make spider webs, and often her weaving would happen late at night. She wouldn't be able to go to sleep, and she would go out to her pasture, and she would weave these beautiful spider webs. Then, in the morning when the sun was rising, her daughter Glisten would get up, and Glisten had many very magical powers, and she would put glistening special dewdrops on the webs. She would put these glistening dewdrops on the spiders and spider webs, and while the people were going towards the village every morning, they would always look at Woven and Glisten's pasture and say, "Wow, what a beautiful pasture they have." They were proud, They didn't have much money, but they both had these special talents. Glisten and Woven had a talent to create these beautiful, intricate webs and would help spiders with a beautiful new home. The daughter, Glisten, would be able to put dewdrops on the beautiful spider webs, and they would sparkle in the sunlight. Well, one morning, after the daughter had put her dewdrops on the spider webs, a witch came walking by. The witch's name was Discontentment, and she was an unhappy woman. She was not a pleasant woman to be around because she was a very angry person. Discontentment lived on the other side of the village, and she lived with her own daughter named Sadness. The only thing was that on the other side of the village there used to be green pastures, but now there were deserts. This was the witch's home, and Discontentment lost connections with people in the village because she became angry. Many people did not want to be around Discontentment and Sadness. So often what would happen would be she would often walk past this family's pasture and see the spider webs and the dewdrops, and Discontentment would think to herself, wow, they have beautiful pastures. They have beautiful spider webs. They have beautiful sparkling drops. These are just absolutely gorgeous, and I have nothing. My daughter and I have nothing at our home. So at this point, Discontentment decided that she was going to destroy all the spider webs. So she knocked at the door late one night after Woven had already been out there creating her spider webs. Discontentment yelled, "You shouldn't be making spider webs anymore. I'm so angry at you. I do not want you to make any more." Woven said, "Well, why not?" Discontentment replied, "Well, because your daughter and you are creating spider webs for spiders, and I don't like spiders. Your daughter is putting precious dewdrops on them to show off to everyone, and yet at my cottage we have not a single drop of water." And with that, Discontentment lifted up her wand and cast a spell on Woven's hands. Woven said, "Why did you just do that?" The witch laughed and turned away mumbling, "I don't like your webs. And I don't like you." The next morning, the girl woke up and she saw her mother crying. She said that she had had a visit from the witch, and the witch had taken her powers for the spider webs away. So Glisten started crying, and she was so sad. She walked out to the pasture knowing that this was the last morning that she was going to put her dewdrops on the remaining spider webs. Yet, as you know, she had magical powers. So what happened was, as she was walking along and seeing these intricate webs, sadness grew in her heart. Glisten knew she would never see her mother's beautiful work again because of the curse. Her tears started to fall, and her tears started to fall on these beautiful spider webs. Because of Glisten's compassion and empathy she had for her mother, her tears turned the beautiful spider webs into sparkling crystal. She noticed that every single spider that a tear fell on turned into a beautiful crystal as well. As the sun was rising, she noticed all these beautiful crystal spider webs with anyone. As she picked up these groups of glistening crystal spiders and webs, she brought them to her mother, saying, "Mother, I know we are poor, but we have been granted good fortune. We have now gotten the magical teardrops to be able to turn into crystal spider webs and spiders. We can use this money to help us at home." Woven hugged her daughter. "These are so beautiful. I never knew you had this magic in you." So what they did was collect all the crystal spiders and spider webs. There was probably about 50 crystals, and they took them in a bag to the village of Hope. The villagers were amazed at the beautiful spider webs and spiders. Never once did Woven, who was hurting, ever share that there was a curse that was given to her and that she would never be able to make her beautiful spider webs again. They found people who wanted to buy these crystals, and many of them bought them for quite a bit of money. Throughout the village of Hope, these beautiful crystals hung. There were spider webs in their windows, in the tailor's window, the butcher's window, and all throughout the castle walls. They would glisten and send rainbows throughout the village of Hope. The village became a glistening light of reflective beauty from these special crystals. As Woven and Glisten were walking out of the castle walls with their purse full of money, they noticed a small path that led to the desert of the Forgotten. As they looked closer, and Woven noticed that they saw the witch. She saw the witch, and Woven felt she needed to walk toward the witch. Woven noticed a young daughter around the same age as her daughter, and she noticed them out in front of their house with not much. There was no river flowing, there were no green pastures, the sun was shining, but it was shining on dirt. It was the desert of the Forgotten that they truly lived. There was barely enough moisture for anything. Woven and Glisten's hearts ached for the poverty they saw. Woven felt pain and sorrow for the fact that her and her daughter, Glisten, were given so much, and her fellow human being, the witch, had nothing. So they thought to themselves that if Glisten cried tears of empathy and used her fingers to create dewdrops, then perhaps she could create a creek for the witch and her daughter. Maybe through her tears, there could be crystals in the creek that could give this family money to live a better life. Maybe through the magical gift that Glisten had, there can be many gifts given to her fellow human being, the witch Discontentment. Woven and Glisten climbed a hill nearby, the desolate home of Discontentment in the desert of the Forgotten. She began to move her fingers quickly, and water droplets came from them. More and more came through her fingers until there was a creek. Glisten began to cry tears of compassion for the witch Discontentment, and soon a large crystal formed. As Glisten pressed her hands on the crystal, it began to glow, and water began to flow more from the large crystal. The water flowed close to the cottage, and soon Glisten's little tears began to form crystals that flowed with the creek. The creek was beautifully stunning. The light captured the crystals in the water, and there were light rays of rainbows shimmering in the sunlight. Beautiful was a bleak word to describe the stunning show seen by the eyes of Woven and Glisten. Within an hour, the creek had turned to a river. Woven and Glisten stared in awe of the river. And they thought, how are we ever going to have this continue with just one crystal producing this much water? So they looked up to the sun, they looked around, and they thought maybe what we could do is put our hands together. If we put some sort of beautiful snow patch or a glacier at the top of this hill, they held their hands together, Woven knowing that she would never be able to create a spider web again. She thought maybe she might have enough power to create a glacier. So they put their hands together and beautifully formed a glacier at the top of this high hill. They saw the witch Discontentment outside her door, and she was smiling. Soon the witch's daughter was splashing in the water. Woven and Glisten went down the hill, and they stood in front of the witch and her daughter with open arms. We're sorry that you didn't have any rainfall on your side of the hill, but we want you to know that you have water now, and we care. Discontentment fell on her knees as her daughter embraced her. Woven and Glisten put their hands on her back and gently cared for her. The pain of Woven's loss washed away as she gave out of her loss. As all of their tears fell on the ground, there was a beautiful crystal oak tree that grew as a testimony of healing. The witch reversed the spell on Woven and was remorseful for the way she had treated Woven. Discontentment shared, I am sorry, I was wrong. My heart was angry. My heart was hardened. I want you to know I will give you back your spiderweb fingers to create beautiful spiderwebs. Discontentment changed her name to Contentment and lived in peace with others around her. The crystal oak tree gave shelter from the sun for the witch and the daughter. The river continued to flow through the desert, and there was peace. The end. Well, thank you so much for joining us today for another empathy tale. This was episode 10, The Woman, the Witch, and the Web. The Woman, the Webs, and the Witch. And I hope that this story helped you learn a little bit about loss, but also about forgiveness and giving. And we can see from the pain and the different characters that each of them had a story. And I think we can learn a lot about how we can forgive and continue to forgive despite whether someone chooses to be kind to us or not. And as we leave this empathy tale, feel free to connect with me on mykidslocker.com or all my other outlets. And until next time, remember to create compassion one story at a time. This is My Kids Locker Empathy Tales signing off. Thanks for joining us.